Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to week 96 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it is me from down under, the LoneVaultWanderer.
And it's me, Karak, with ACG.
Awesome. So I apologize for missing just last week. I was attending an
Matty,
event
you missed
for
the
Prey.
podcast.
I know, Dova seemed awesome, so I felt kind of bad. But
she was really cool.
Yeah, I was attending an event for Prey. Couldn't say it on the show yet, so Lone worded it great. I had YouTube commitments. But yeah, Prey is fucking awesome. Really enjoyed my time with that. Apparently, according to PC Gamer, we talked about this in the Discord, Karak, that they were like, it didn't run that well. I'm like, well, it's still 3 months out.
I played it as well. I went to a similar event. It fucking ran fine.
Yeah.
It ran better than Dishonored 2
That's what
did.
I was looking for. I was like, okay, it's on PC. It's Arcane. After Dishonored 2, a little shaky trust there. Let's see how this works. I didn't have a hitch or anything. I mean, granted, they give you these godlike machines, but still, I mean, you see the capture devices they give you? They're little
How
mini
fucking awesome.
TVs.
You got the same one with the screen, right?
Yeah, these mini fucking TVs. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, this is insane.
It was funny because they brought us into a room and they're like, all right, we got these new capture devices. And it had some weird name like Thunderbolt Fire X or some shit. I'm like, what the fuck are we using? Like, can we just use an Elgato? And you walk in and they got the PC set up everywhere. And the capture devices, which have a screen, like the fucking capture device has a screen on it. So you can see the
4K.
recording as you play it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Records in 4K. They give you, I have it somewhere. Where is it? They give you like a different type of drive to save the footage on, like this SanDisk. It's pretty different compared to just like an external hard drive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Really cool event, really good time. I know you can't really disclose it, Lone, but like for me, it was awesome to have this the Heaven Over Hell suite we were in because it overlooked the city, so it like really painted the picture of how the beginning of Prey is. It was awesome.
I tell you what, though, when it wasn't necessarily the case with this event, but when we went to Dishonored 2, it was last year, the hotel that we were at literally looked like Clockwork Mansion. I'm not even going to lie. It was like this
do their research
spiral staircase in the middle and everything. It just, the aesthetic fit it so well. And I was hoping for something like that this time. But
yeah, the one I went to
we didn't get it
for Dishonored, I remember it was more of an old-fashioned one. It kind of reminded me of... It just reminded me of the first just area you're in Dishonored 2, the castle, like the way it was decorated and stuff, very reminiscent of that. But yeah, Bethesda threw a good event together, which is always nice to see them getting into that circle of press-held events. As always, though, if you guys want to become a part of the podcast, feel free to submit any topic ideas and responses with the hashtag H.A.M Radio Time on top of considering supporting the Patreon to become a guest. We haven't done a Patreon guest in a while because I was absent last week. This week, I was just late to it, I'm not going to lie. So next week, we're going to have a Patreon guest. I do apologize for being late on that. Anyway, let's dive into the first of many topics we want to talk about today. Karak, this was your idea, and I totally agree with it. Let's talk about Buggy Games. There's been a lot of Buggy launches lately.
Well, yeah, and so you and I both covered a couple recently. Well, and even in 2016. And then I want to make sure I give a prop out. I go on NeoGAF. That's one of the places I post. And somebody was saying, and it's something you and I have talked about, is are certain companies given some leeway? Bethesda in particular, with like Fallout and Skyrim. And then this conversation just started cropping up because it's like the Buggy games that have come up recently have been, for me in particular, weird bugs. And so I hadn't talked to you about this, but I'd like to hear what you think. But one of the things I'm noticing is gameplay bugs that are based around how you play. And so they don't show up for everybody. This is pretty normal, but for some particular games, somebody will say, I had this bug. Karak, why didn't you say anything? And I'm like, I played the game for 40 hours. I didn't have that bug at all. Sniper came up a couple times where people are like, well, this and this happens. And I'm like, listen, I can only tell you I had like 800 people on my patron-only fucking video watching a stream as I was playing it. And if that had shown up in the 4 hours I streamed it, somebody would have said something. The bugs, one thing people forget is that bugs happen differently for different people.
Yeah.
They don't happen the same.
That is literally the story of my life. Not to interrupt you, that is literally the story of my life with Bethesda games. Barely. I'm not even just saying this. I barely encounter bugs in Bethesda games. I know, I've seen the videos. I've seen people's Let's Plays. I've seen All of them. I've seen so many fucking bugs. I seriously never get them. And I had this conversation with the Vault dude. He guested on the podcast months back, and we were talking about bugs in Bethesda games, and we were like, what do people do? Because I never encountered them. The worst I've said it to this day, the worst I've encountered was either Piper being like horizontally caught in the ground for Fallout 4 or the giant smacking me sky high in Skyrim. Those are the two bugs I've ever encountered. In Bethesda games, I've never had like the broken quest glitches, the broken save data, losing all my saves. I've never had that. It's like, it's not that I'm denying that they happen. It's just that I totally agree with what you're saying, that, you know, it's interesting how the conversation can tailor in that way, where people are like, why didn't you talk about that, Matty? Why don't you talk about the bugs in Bethesda games? It's like, I've never really had a first-hand experience with a bad bug in a Bethesda game. Not that they're not there. But
you know, it's really funny. I don't know if either of you follow Total Biscuit, but for a while he used to do PC port reports, and he would talk about, you know, this is how the game's running on my PC, and I also have another PC which is like a mid-tier PC, and I'll run the game on that to test it out. And he's like, I've stopped doing them because I keep doing these PC port reports, and people keep yelling at me that I didn't cover these particular bugs that I just didn't encounter, even experimenting on 2 different PCs. Okay. So it's just like, there's actually no point, because there are so many configs, there are so many different PCs out there that you, like, one review can't speak for everyone's experience, even on PS4 or Xbox One, as we talked about in last week's podcast.
It's so hard to find bugs because there's certain things you have to perform that are so by chance. The one bug that comes to mind is in Modern Warfare 2, totally random, was the care package glitch. You pull the pin, you climb over a wall, you throw the care package marker down, you have another. And you could throw infinite care packages in. Like, Modern Warfare 2 was so broken.
That's an awesome care package, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, how do you find that out? It's like, how does that happen? Who pulled a pin? Then, while you're holding RT or R2, you climbed for some reason. You threw it still while it was held, which is the hardest part. He didn't let go of R1. He held it the whole way through. Then threw it and said, oh, fuck, I have another one. Let me try that again, and did it again. It's like discovering these glitches, these bugs. It's sometimes by chance. Not that they're all by chance, but I'm just saying there's so many steps to finding one and variables that it can be easy to miss.
Well, it's funny because he destroyed Total Biscuit. Is just his his Halo War 2 video was hilarious. Did you guys see that yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's like watching a human devolve in a video. I've never. he starts out like this. Okay, and I mean, it's literally like, okay, yeah. So you do this, and then he starts like trying to adjust, because I'm telling you right now, the key bindings and the options in the PC version are just weird. And pretty soon, Total Biscuit is literally frothing at the mouth, and he's like, what did a human fucking program? Like, he's losing it. And you're like, oh shit, on live TV. Like, he starts out normal, and then you're like, this is what happens when the chemicals come out of your brain and you're really the way you are without your Ritalin. And it's funny because what he experienced, some of the stuff I didn't. But for example, Halo Wars, the bugs I had were egregious. They were insane. And there were multiple ones. And then somebody else may not have them. And like you said, you have to do different things. One of the things that comes up a lot of times in Bethesda games is if you move a lot of items, the way it duplicates item IDs, it can bloat your save.
Yeah.
So we know that, right? And we know that some people play a particular way where that may crop up. But yeah, I mean, but ignoring the fact that we all do experience different things. I was also bringing it up because holy shit, there are a lot of, I mean, the bugs in a couple of these past games have been pretty fucking crazy. Like, and somebody who worked in test and still occasionally online does a little bit of QA, I can tell you right now, some of the shit that was in Halo Wars, I was just like, do I not have a patch? Like, what's going on? There's no way this can be final. And then emailed them like, no, you've got the most up-to-date patch. And I'm like, did you guys hear about Halo Wars 2 where on the PC version, there's a bug where it will unlock all the cinematics, and so people have been accidentally clicking the last cinematic, and it's spoiling the entire game. So 343 was informed, but last night my Twitter, people were like, "What the fuck?" Because I guess what happens is they're speeding through to get to the main menu, right? So they're skipping that starter video. Then it unlocks all the videos, and they go in thinking, "Oh, watch the starter video now that I've adjusted my options and I've done all this." Oh, no. And somehow they're accidentally clicking that last one,
such
and
a rude awakening.
and they're like, "Oh fuck," because they can't tell it's the last. You can't tell it's the last one because you don't know if it's the starting of the story. Oh, and some people say that's on them, and I get that. You should be very careful, but you shouldn't have to worry about having movies unlocked that aren't unlocked. Absolutely. I guess
Creative Assembly does strike me as another Bethesda type company where they
I would agree.
Very buggy titles, but most try to look past it because the product, like a Total War, was awesome. Where they're like, I see what they're doing, and it's like love it, but there's so many bugs plaguing the title that they're clearly not getting a free pass this time around. Which I'd imagine if it happens with Bethesda again, the same consequences will come down on them, and it'll be a rude awakening. But yeah, just I had some bugs with Halo Wars 2. Or 2 as well. Mine I showed in the video. You see a bunch of brutes just there's a fucking turret right there that they're running to attack, and they just keep running in circles. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was so low on health, so that's why I said in the video, I'm like, yeah, it helped me out. Yeah, it made things easier, but I was just like sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? Yours was funny, seeing the Warthog in the first mission just off the cliff.
I also, by the way, I won three campaigns because of bugs. 3 campaign missions, 3 total campaign missions. I became invincible.
And the one where they overpopulated that one. What the fuck? I couldn't believe my eyes.
I was watching that just going, wait, and they just kept saying they're going to get to the laser, and I'm like, the laser was destroyed like a good 25 minutes ago. Like at the starting of the mission, I fucked up. Like they destroyed it. And they just kept circling until finally my Xbox One, I was like, okay, this thing's going to light on fire.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I see more enemies on screen. I'm like, he's playing on consoles.
Crazy. yeah, exactly.
What other bugs did I encounter? There was, how about the weird thing where you could not load your recent save from the restart menu? You either had, how many times did you restart your mission?
Dude, this is going to make me a little angry. First of all, I don't like their save because of that, because I did restart a couple times and was like, this is not why am I restarting the entire thing? Played all the way through
the missions
and then found the saves were in a different, they're not. And found out that I had to go somewhere else.
Fucking believe it. Because I hit restart twice on 130, I think the mission was. It was the one where you just play as Alice alone. And I died at the end twice, and I restarted twice. I'm like, what the fuck? This is like a 40-minute mission. I slimmed it down to about 25 because I knew what the fuck I was doing. But I was like, there's no way. At that second time, I'm like, I cannot restart this. I said, I refuse to. And I pressed B. And I was like, okay, I'm at the main menu. I saw load game, and I'm thinking, like, I was just going to load a level. And there's my save file. I'm like, how are you trying to tell me that you can't just press A to load last save or load recent checkpoint? Something like that. It just blew my fucking mind.
Let's talk about oddities. I mean, I thought it was just me, so I haven't really done, I'll probably do a PC review at some point once a couple patches came in, but I was blown away by on the PC version, the scroll, or you can't zoom in and out with your mouse wheel. You have to hold Alt and then do it.
I found that weird when I tested it in January.
to twist the same thing. You have to hold Alt to just, and I'm sitting there going, wait, what? Like, that would be like saying to shoot, you have to hold the space bar and press your mouse button. Be like, who the fuck would think that was a good idea? So there's a lot of weird oddities. There's just a lot of weird oddities in some of these games recently in particular that it's a little bit scary going into 2017 and knowing some of the massive games are coming out like Horizon Zero Dawn and some others and worrying what kind of bugs we're going to see in some of these and what people are going to, like what their experience is going to be. Because I don't want a consumer to buy a game and go, oh, I can't win this level because my Warthog flew off the fucking map. Like that's not fair. They paid $60 for that.
Yeah.
How about Sniper Elite 4? We both played that as well. My review's coming out. Well, the podcast will be live, so it's coming out tomorrow. The AI in that game was atrocious. I thought it was so remarkably dumb. I haven't seen something that bad in quite a while. I'd have to go through my review playlist to find one that was like.
Are you close up, Matty, when you fight? Are you more of a close fighter?
I did both. I'd snipe as many as I could from a distance, and then I'd move in. But if you got like spotted, for example, then they would like try to orient around that triangulation mechanic they have in the game, and you just literally move out of it, and they'd all be open to kill. And it was so easy to exploit. That's the thing. It was beyond easy to break the game and just be like, okay, I'm gonna intentionally get caught here. If I wanted to do this, I didn't. But just get intentionally spotted here, shoot my gun into the air for fuck's sake, then just move out of that area and kill him from behind.
So I didn't have as many issues there, but I'm very meticulous. So it was usually I was one shot only when sound was happening. Like, for example, the first level was many hours. I did speed up after that because I was like, okay, I got to actually finish this.
Yeah.
But I thought that there were improvements in the leader system, which I really liked. If you killed the leader, they sort of had more issues. It sounds like you almost killed the leader prior to that actually occurring, because it sounds like you already had AI that was dumb.
Yeah, for me, it was they were already reacting in a strange way. Yeah, before I shot the leader. It's a good point. I almost forgot about that, but yeah, because I'm thinking of my specific example was on mission 3, but it was just like a bunch of Jaeger troopers, I think they were called, and yeah. But what were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, that's one of the situations where I just didn't have anywhere near as many issues with the AI. I saw some improvements that weren't in 3, like some things that they did. But then I did see, and I even talked about this in my review, I said, I've poached eggs smarter than
that was
these.
Funny.
Here's the problem, though. Right after that, I said, but at the same time, they do this and this well. And a lot of people are like, oh, you said the AI was great. And I'm like, no, actually, I made it quite clear that it's almost like they have some things they're good at. For example, their tactics can be okay at times, but their almost emergent AI, like searching the areas, isn't the best. Like,
yeah, they'll walk up to a bush and just go, and you're just your head's blatantly sticking out of the bush, and they're like
right there,
just looking around.
Your gun is against their forehead, and they're like, nobody's here.
Yeah, it can be a little ridiculous where it becomes less of you're shrouded in cover in that little bush area to this is just a blatant game mechanic, which can kind of break you out of things, in my opinion. Yeah, Sniper Elite 4, as a whole, I viewed as, when it's good, it's very fucking good. When I'm talking about level design, all that stuff, the AI, when it's good, it's very good. But then, like you said, yeah, it can break off and just be very, very bad. That's how I felt about the level design. I felt level 1 was the best mission in the game. That was hands down my favorite mission because it had the high sniper purchase, but it also had the up close and personal in the valley combat with, you take out your silenced pistol, work your way through there. I loved how the level was so vast and expansive where, say I fucked up in an area, not the entire map knew where I was, and this applied to the entire game, mind you, but, it opened up that there were some improvements there that if someone knew where I was, not the entire level did, just that section did, and I can quiet things down. Where I felt there were a lot of levels where it was pistol Elite 4, not even joking, where, yes, even with the additional suppressed ammo for my sniper, I was using my pistol at least 60% of this game, which it just...
we play way different then. Yeah. Dude, I shot it like 20 times in the entire game.
That may boil down to playstyle. For me, it was more so, I'd kick the generator, make a sound mask, snipe off as many as I could, but then to get to the objective, I had to go in, right? I had to... Right. And so when I got in there, then I was using my pistol a ton. It really wasn't a 50-50 split. I definitely found myself, to get to that position for the sniper and to get to the objective, I was more so using my pistol, where I felt other Sniper Elite games did a good job of putting you in that position where you're just picking people off from a distance, and they're just frantically running about, like, what the fuck is happening? And I've always found that was what was satisfying, being the killer from meters away. And I say this in my review as well, that I really appreciate that they were forcing you out of your comfort zone, that you can't just kill from a distance constantly. That would kind of get monotonous. But I just feel that they didn't put sniping at the forefront as much as I would have. But like I said, it might just, or like you said, rather, it might just boil down to playstyle, really.
Yeah, I just rated it a wait for a sale. Same. I think that there's, it sounds like you're doing somewhat the same. Yeah. It's just one of those things where there are some good, it's pretty much what,
I wish I had some good player base.
Multiplayer was good. It's scoring about 80 on, it goes up and down depending on who reviews on Metacritic and OpenCritic. And I actually think that makes sense because some people are going to think it's more of a 60, right? Depending on bugs and how they play. And other people will experience even less issues than I do and think it's 85 or 90, which I'd be surprised if they thought that, but it's possible. But it makes sense. It's actually, the score I see is actually pretty fair for it because
I would say, I mean,
like where you drop.
The whole series has been around the 80s, in my opinion. Yeah, it hasn't gone like up or down from there. I'm just going through my review playlist to see if there was any other games that were really buggy last year. Last Guardian.
Recore. Dude, remember Recore?
Almost forgot. That one's literally jammed into the back of my brain because that is some serious shit. Mafia 3, there's one.
Mafia 3.
Yeah, there was some serious.
I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people hate me because they're like, he hates Microsoft. And no, I don't hate anybody, but I will say that Microsoft titles on this Windows Store do seem to have some additional issues that seem oddly connected. Forza Horizon 3 had a lot. I liked it and I had no problem, but there was a microstutter issue on the PC that a large number of folks had to deal with. Microsoft is having a couple issues, I think, delivering really quality titles, which is really strange because I don't know if you guys know, Microsoft has their own building. I believe it's called Strike or something like that, where it's got 2,000 different PCs. So developers who make games, it's 2,000 configurations. Yeah, there's a video on about that shows this huge place. Undead Labs has talked about it, and so you can go and test all these configs, and they did, and that still got through. Like Microsoft's got a couple issues that I really wish they would. I don't know what's going on with their QA, but a couple of these games from them in particular
feels like
have been
just that everyone's not in sync in their company. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I see a lot of different trains of thoughts going through there where, there's this confliction where for obvious reasons, they cancel Scalebound, but it's like, what's going to replace that? What are they going to do? Is this E3, which I guess we'll transition to that topic unless there's any other Buggy Games. No. They're hosting it this Sunday, not this Sunday, rather the Sunday of Bethesda's E3 conference, and it seems like they're going to be putting the Scorpio on the forefront. What worries me about that is this going to turn into kind of a console reveal tech demo where they're going to try to overshadow the fact that they don't really have any games?
No, I don't think they're going to do that.
You don't think so?
To
you
be
think
honest,
they're going to come out hard and make the definitive next gen console?
Well, if you look at what Sony, let's put it this way. I actually enjoyed Microsoft's E3 conference last year. But if you look at what Sony did, it was a completely different style of conference. It was game trailer, game trailer, game trailer. And I constantly see interviews with Phil Spencer, and he's accepting that we need more games, especially after the cancellation of Scalebound. He's always trying to say, I'm confident in this year and the products that we have. It's obvious that their conference has to focus somewhat on the Scorpio, but I highly doubt that that's going to be all of what they talk about, or even the majority of what they talk about. I definitely see them talking about their new games as well. I think I mentioned this in the podcast last week. They're going to start, I think, with the Scorpio and say, here's a new console, and then follow it with all these bunch of games that you can play it on. Because no one's going to buy, even though the console's stronger, no one's going to buy it unless there's new titles coming for it as well. Because a lot of the experiences that I've been hearing from Xbox players, myself included, that PS4 gets games all the time. And even most of them are indie titles, but you still got Horizon Zero Dawn, you've still got Crash Bandicoot, you still got games. Yeah, Neo as well. I mean, so
Neo,
many awesome titles.
Exclusive because it's not one of their traditional first-party devs. So I always.
It's still a great game from what I hear.
I
right?
It's
hard.
It's amazing.
I love Neo.
That's the exact point that I'm making. Is that Xbox isn't seeing that regular flow of titles, and sometimes that means you miss some sort of niche title like Neo, for example, that ends up surprising everyone. And I would like to see, again, focus on the Scorpio. We all know that you need to do that because you've teased it for so long, and this is the best time to do it. But don't spend too much on that in the presentation, and I don't think they will.
Yeah. I was gonna say it feels like, especially last year, though I might be just having a momentary lapse, it feels like Sony hasn't released many games, where I find it always puzzling. And this is someone who plays on their PS4 most of the time, mind you. So yeah. I feel like I remember it, but it feels like last year very lacking in exclusives. I don't think of Sony, except for the year of Bloodborne really being a year where they released tons of big exclusives. I think that was the same year as The Order. I think it was the same year as Until Dawn, or was that Until Dawn was 2015? Regardless, though, wait, was Bloodborne 2015 or was that 14?
It was 15.
Okay,
it was 15.
Okay. So yeah, 2015 was a year of a lot of exclusives, but I think 2016 was quite barren, if I remember. Could be wrong, but yeah. So I find it weird when they compare the two, because for me, I've always viewed Microsoft. I mean, they had that one year. It was 2014 where they had Ori. I think they had Sunset Overdrive. They had a lot of good exclusives. Where it has since then, I haven't had like a year with Microsoft. And I thought their launch year was good. You know, their launch lineup with like Killer Instinct. I really like
which is still going strong too.
Yeah. You know, they do a good job with those games. But yeah, since then they also haven't really had that home run year where I think both companies really need to get on track with their exclusives, which Sony seems to have started doing this year, provided Horizon actually does well, which it is shaping up to look pretty nice, I have to admit. And Neo's obviously fantastic. So Sony's on the right track. It's up to Microsoft now.
And when you look at so I agree with Lone. I don't think it'll be I mean, some of it, I actually would say that I think they'll cover more than he probably does when it comes to the Scorpio. But I actually think one of the reasons why is and this is just my opinion, so I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but the PS4 Pro has not really set people's faces on fire. And you just now finally got what I like to call super, super late boost mode, which should have been done day one. If I was Microsoft, what I would do is I would discuss things like boost mode or beast mode, whatever you want to call it, day one for the Scorpio. So if you're going to show stuff, you're going to be like, you don't have to patch things or you don't have to wait for a firmware update. This shit just works. And this is Microsoft's bailiwick. This is their thing. They're the software company that handles Windows. They should be able to do this versus even Sony. This is something that they probably have a pretty good handle on. They should. I'm not saying they will, but they should do that. Mm-hmm. And then I would like to see them show. So there is one indie game, and I've covered it twice on the channel. I've had the developers on that I actually do feel, and people are totally going to not agree with me, but I do feel it's Microsoft Zelda, and I have for a long time. It's called Ashen.
And I thought you were going to say Rhyme at first or something like that.
No. So 2 years ago, Ashen was on the main stage, but Cuphead beat him out when it came to popularity. Like, Cuphead was announced. People were like, oh, shit, it looks unique. Ashen looks like Zelda, but Dark Souls. Like, the shit that they show is insane. And talking to Derek, the guy one of the head programmers, a lot of them come from Lord of the Rings special effects designers. Some come from different companies. And one of the things that they showed... They showed this amazing scene. So this world is basically it basically the only light in their entire world is a volcano that occasionally bursts. And it's sort of a day-night cycle with this volcano firing up. So they have daylight, but there's a lot of wind. And one of the major mechanics is using your shield to sort of kite into different locations. It's a third-person style, Zelda style game. And the combat and shit they showed, it's ashen-game.com, I think, online. And I believe, since they already showed them 2 years ago, I believe that we'll probably see them on the main stage again. And then Agent. I think that Agent is Microsoft's ace in the hole if they deal it right. Agent 3. Right? Not Agent, I'm sorry.
Isn't that a Rockstar game, Agent?
Yeah, it's not Agent. It's the game with this Crackdown. Okay. Crackdown 3. I think Crackdown 3 is like their ace in the hole. And if they nail it.
Because, not only, I mean, they I don't know if you ever watched the alpha tech demos on how they handle destruction piece by piece and how the processing works for that. Fantastic stuff. And so, I'd imagine only with time that technology is improved, where they've been very quiet on the game. And if they can manage to bring in the co-op to that, like they did in previous Crackdown games, oh my God, fully destructible city.
One other thing, so as a fan, Maddie and I think Maddie's a fan of State of Decay.
Yes. Yes, I am.
So
that's a good game.
The rumor is, there is a rumor going around that some people who've seen the new State of Decay are beyond ecstatic about it. There's a couple. There's just rumors, but some of the people that I trust are like, if there's one game that you should actually watch for, it's State of Decay 2, because their plans for 1 didn't come to fruition, and those are going into 2. And if you guys understand anything about State of Decay and you look at what they hoped for with the co-op gameplay, movable bases, all this stuff, holy shit. If that had a good frame rate, and
dude, I love the first one. So I already know I'm going to walk into looking at the second one like optimistically. So for sure, I'm going to be excited about that. But man, I can't wait for that game. Yeah, you don't even have to tell me like look for that, because that's one title that I really
and it's
have my
janky,
fingers
isn't
crossed.
it? Isn't it, Matty?
Yeah.
It's janky as fuck.
Yeah, it is. The first
Like,
one's definitely. I haven't played it on PC. I only played it on the 360. So yeah, it's definitely, from my experience, like a sloppy game.
Yeah.
But it's such a brilliant idea. It's just a lot of fun, very different. Yeah, I love State of Decay. So seeing a second one, hearing those rumors, that's exciting stuff. But how about in general that Microsoft has moved their conference to Sunday afternoon? Same day as Bethesda. Bethesda used to own Sunday. You know, they used to kill it before. Really, let's be honest. You know, I know we all love
Did you
Bethesda
see
here, but
Bethesda's tweet?
yeah, they're like, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. I can't speak. What the fuck's the word?
Flattery.
Sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. And so, yeah, they threw shade Microsoft's way. But I thought this was interesting because it seems like Microsoft's looking to have their own day. Instead of it's not Microsoft first, then Sony later that night, it's Microsoft's day, Sony's day. That's how I'm viewing it.
I mean, I think that's pretty tactical. That gives a full 24 hours of people talking about, in addition to Bethesda games, which won't, obviously, in terms of, I guess, the number of clicks and the number of articles, there's probably going to be more stuff on Microsoft over
Here's
Bethesda.
the thing I just thought of. Bethesda's always in bed with Microsoft.
I know. That's what I was actually going to say.
I was going to say, that just right when you said that, they're always in bed with Microsoft. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some joint type of thing going on.
Fallout 4 VR shown on the Scorpio.
Yeah, something like that. That would not surprise me at all.
That's an interesting question. If I think obviously Scorpio is going to have some sort of VR. Are they still doing that thing with Oculus? Is that still happening? I don't know.
Man, I don't know. That's what I wondered too. But I was going to say, also, I think on Sunday, Matty, maybe why they switched is maybe Lone and I are both wrong, and Sunday's going to be Scorpio Day. And then Monday is just going to be, so Scorpio, we're going to show tech stuff. We're going to have Bethesda maybe come on, maybe BioWare, whatever. And then the next day is just games, right?
They shouldn't do that. No.
That'd be interesting.
I hope they don't. If they just had a conference or something that was just all Scorpio, they would get slaughtered online because people are going to constantly say, well, it's nice that I have a nice new console, but where are the games to play it on? And I still think there's a lot of bad blood after Scalebound was cancelled. So
I'm shocked. I'm surprised most people didn't go, it's a weeb game or some shit.
Well, and Scalebound looked like shit. So most of the people I know were like, thank God.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But it was a cool concept.
I love
it was
the
a cool concept.
Yeah, they needed to either cancel that or polish it for another 5 fucking years.
Oh, dude. You know, I mean, did that money go to Crackdown? Like, that's the thing. You know, you look at a title and you decide, can we continue to publish this? No. When you say no, you're turning around halfway. That money's gone. So Microsoft must have really not been happy. That's the legitimate thing. And so where does that money go? My hope is that they basically called up, Undead Labs and called up the people doing Crackdown and were like, hey, you guys, we're going to fund some more developers, some more QA, whatever. That'd be awesome.
For quality over quantity too. I mean, obviously they want more quality games, but maybe cut off the dead weight here and fund the other titles, get those working because, Halo Wars 2 isn't a strong start for the year. I was satisfied narratively, but technical wise, investment wise, you can see it really wasn't there.
Well, pretty much what they did is cut off an infected toe to save the rest of the body. I mean, as Karak said, if they can throw all their resources,
Fallout 3 with the stomach and the hands growing out of it.
But seriously though, if they can throw all of their not just money, they would have budgeted for Scalebound, and there's probably still budget left. Throw some of that budget, throw some of the resources, QA, just improve as many different other games that you have in development as you can. And I think that's a better result in the end. I'd rather see that than all the quality of all other Microsoft games go down a little bit, and then we have Scalebound, which is just buggy from launch. That's not helping anyone.
True.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, but Bethesda's on 7, I'd say. They haven't announced the time, but probably 7 p.m. Pacific time that night, regardless. Like I said,
Microsoft says when, Maddie?
2 Pacific?
2 p.m., yeah.
Yeah, so what sucks about that is with, plane and hotel prices at E3, I've complained about this endlessly, is that means I have to go a day early, which is, that's a lot. It's not a cheap price, especially when you're taking a group with you, because the hotel prices go up after that. But
and usually check-in for hotels is 1 p.m, so it's just a rush period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So regardless of that, though, Bethesda's E3 conference that night, we've made a podcast, and we'll make another one, probably trying to get Shinobi on for his, annual Leakster ways when the E3 stuff talk starts getting going. But for now,
Matty, when that podcast happened, I have to say, though, quickly, the amount of news articles about our podcast were insane.
Yeah.
I was like, the fuck?
I didn't. He was just on his roll. I was just like, wow. He is just gonna
Shinobi, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. He's just rolling. Mind you, I'm hoping he'll come on. I mean, he said he'd love to come back on, but we haven't talked to him for a while. But anyway, Bethesda, any just bare bones predictions that you just want to toss out there while the conversation's there?
I think we're going to get a new announcement of some sort. Like
really?
What do we have?
Holy shit, a new announcement at E3. Well.
No, but think about it this way. Last year, we had Bethesda come out. Obviously, there were leaks beforehand, but Skyrim Special Edition, no one was expecting. Was it Quake Legends, right? Quake Champions, something. Quake Champions or some shit. I'm confusing us with Elder Scrolls Legends. But I don't think that they have enough titles actually positively announced now to justify another E3 conference. And we keep talking about that. They need content to fill an entire conference. Otherwise, this is going to be somewhat boring. I foresee something new coming. Don't know. I have no idea what that could be.
Wolfenstein.
I think I'm actually expecting them to. I'm just throwing it out there. I honestly expect them to break away from Skyrim and from Fallout and do an open world in some other.
Starfield.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I really do think that they themselves, a lot of the people themselves are like, hey, let's do something a little different. And the idea of doing something like that would be, I think for a lot of people would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would like to see one.
They're working on a space game. I'll be fucking stunned if they're not.
Yeah.
But when will it be announced? I hope this year. I wouldn't be shocked if it was this year. I really wouldn't. I know a lot of people will be, but I've said for a while that it's entirely possible with the way they develop games, and especially because they've expanded now, they totally could have a game out this year. And I think, like Karak said, we're talking about
Bethesda Game Studios, right?
Yeah, and I think, like Karak said, it would behoove them probably to break away from ES and Fallout and do a new universe. Yes, it would increase their workload, but I don't think it's too far-fetched to imagine with Elder Scrolls currently being handled in a way by ZeniMax Online that Fallout would be handled by someone else, where all their series would not go dormant. I think it's very well possible.
Well, let's put it this way, right? I mean, when Fallout 4 was announced, it was obviously the E3 presser, and then 6 months later, it was released. If that happens again, that means whenever this new game is released, it's 2 years from the release of Fallout 4. So, obviously, if this was old BGS without Montreal, we probably wouldn't have seen a game turned around that fast. But now, I very much see that happening. Something, again, being announced at E3, something that we haven't seen, and being released at the end of the year. That 6-month release window, I just love that. It's such a quick turnaround, and it's not like years of building up.
Which is good.
It should become a norm because how many... it also just prevents gamers from getting disappointed about, what happens when games are talked about very early on. Promises can be made, and they can be truthful at the time, and they might, not eventually happen because that's how development works. It would cut down on that. It would cut down on disappointment. I think that quick build-up hype worked brilliantly for Fallout 4. I think it could work really well for something else.
Oh, man. It worked pretty damn well. You can see Mass Effect's doing it. Mass Effect has their own loot crate, too. They're completely copying Fallout 4. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but outside of Bethesda Game Studios, I'm hoping, Evil Within 2. I've really wanted that for a couple of years now. Yeah. So I'm really hoping for that. Actually, going back to Bethesda Game Studios for a sec, let's say there was a Fallout spinoff, what kind of spinoff are we thinking? Are we thinking just another kind of New Vegas? Or are we thinking I'm not even kidding here when I say this because I know it's kind of a meme, but Fallout Online. Seriously, genuinely. Because you look at ESO, how it started off, people are like, fuck this. Now people are like, I love this. For the most part, there's still obviously and will always be that section of the fan base that's like, this is an Elder Scrolls, but for the most part, it's very well received. Do you think there's a chance that they just say Fallout Online because then you can just do that continuous support? Fallout's in the news, Fallout's out there. There's just something current, long-running Fallout. so that maybe Bethesda Game Studios can focus on this new universe, Starfield.
No way.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think Fallout works as well. Fallout and Skyrim both are about the single player stuff, and then
Absolutely.
ESO has done a pretty good job, I think, about adding the MMO. But I also think that ESO and fantasy and the populations and everything make more sense as an MMO
that's
than
what I say.
Fallout with less people.
I was just asking, but yeah, that's.
I don't want to play with Maddie killing my fucking nomads when I need to scrape and scrounge for a single pipe. Like, I mean, that can be done already in the game. Here's the thing, though. I do feel that at some point they may look at co-op.
I fucking hope so.
I would love for them to say, I don't think Fallout 4 VR is actually coming, by the way, but that's beside the point. No, I with VR and the absolute disaster VR has been, unless Microsoft is footing that as a exclusive in some way, it doesn't feel right. But if they said, hey, Fallout, as Maddie said, online, I'm not as excited about that. But if they said like a Fallout, New Vegas style thing, but it was co-op, fuck, I would love to play. Because then a squad or two people or a couple, if they want to play, that's one thing.
I just think of Fallout Tactics. That was a game that
correct. Yeah,
I don't think that wasn't co-op, but that was a game about going out with your squad and tackling missions. And I could see not that similar formula, but the idea of going out with 1 to 4 people. I don't think that's too far fetched in a Fallout game. I really don't. Does it break some of the I'd say immersion or like the intensity and atmosphere of the universe? Arguably so, because it's always been known as a single player franchise for sure. Right. But I guess that depends on how you play your games. If I have a bunch of friends who are very, we have like that fun, don't get me wrong, but like if we're in a serious story game, like we're really into it, I don't think the atmosphere would take a hit because of all of us are playing together. But not everyone. But
it's not just the atmosphere. Like I don't think it's just like the atmosphere of it being a single player game. I think if
mechanics a little bit.
It is. Right? Put it this way, right? If you look at how Borderlands as a co-op game is structured, every so many different aspects of that game had to be custom fit for the fact that it is co-op. So, for example, when you're in a menu, time still plays. It's real time. When you go to a new area, you have to confirm that everyone's ready to go to the new area. And that's just not how Fallout is geared. Right now, when you talk to someone in the Fallout universe, or at least with Fallout 3, I can't even remember with Fallout 4. I haven't played that much. But when you talk to someone in Fallout 3 in New Vegas, time around you stopped, right?
It does
when
not.
You looked into
4. Yeah, 4 in Skyrim, it does not.
Well, there you go. But then when you look at your Pip-Boy, time stops.
Yes.
Yeah. That can't happen in a co-op game,
but
right?
See, that's something I expected with Fallout 4. I remember making a video saying I feel like in Fallout 4 the Pip-Boy doesn't stop time, and it ended up being the same thing, a pause screen, which I never really agreed with. I feel like because before Fallout 4 they were kind of hyping it up as more of a survival experience, and in the beginning of the game I thought it was actually a little bit more difficult than the other Fallout games. 3 in New Vegas, I mean by that. Where I thought the pausing of the Pip-Boy and healing, it didn't lend itself to the universe it was creating. Where I think a real-time Pip-Boy, just in general for the series, regardless of what direction
sometimes
it goes.
Though it is necessary because Fallout does have a lot of item management, and you need to repair. Well, at least not in Fallout 4, you don't need to repair. But at least that when you're going through your Pip-Boy, sometimes you have a bunch of items. It makes sense in that way for time to stop. But even not just your Pip-Boy. VATS, even though VATS now is slow motion, it's still one of those things where it stops or it changes time. There are so many different things on a mechanics level that Fallout would have to change if it was going to be co-op. And it would have to be very similar, again, to Borderlands. You can't have, you entering a house without someone else being going into that house automatically. There would need to be some sort of confirmation. So maybe a co-op Fallout game can't be as open world technically. Can you have someone that's that far away from your teammate?
The reason I think you could still do VATS is because I think of Max Payne 3 and its multiplayer. Love that game, by the way. That's one of my favorite Rockstar games. And how I remember specifically there was a ability you could do where you could do a vintage Max Payne, diving and shooting your dual pistols, and it would enter slow-mo. But it was only when someone was in that cone vision. I'd imagine if, each player, client, whatever, had their own cone, so to say, vision. Mind you, this is all the technical stuff there, where you could enter VATS, maybe not slow-mo, but you could still target body parts and zoom in on them and then pick your shot. Still in multiplayer though. I don't think that's impossible.
But how would that look as the other player looking into that,
They
right?
won't see
So, say
anything.
if you're targeting if you're targeting a body part of an enemy that's clearly there for both of you, what if another player just decides to kill that enemy? Could that other
what would
player
be
kill
cool
that
is
enemy?
if they don't, let's say on my screen I'm zoomed in that classic VATS look, like we'll say for Fallout 4 where it slows down time. On their screen, they're to the left in another piece of cover. They just see the little just HUD of and it's highlighting what I'm selecting. So that person's being targeted. And you'll see it go from a light green to a dark green where based off where I'm targeting that body part. And then, okay, that person's being targeted. I'm not going to shoot at them. I'm going to shoot at someone else. So I think it actually is possible. I'm just, mind you, I'm basing it off of Max Payne 3. Where they've slowed down a piece of the map, a piece of the multiplayer. Not for everyone, just whoever was in that cone. And mind you, it wasn't like a MOBA where you see an actual cone appear. It's just based off how the game programmed it. And you just learned the mechanic of that move through just how the game worked. Just an idea,
But,
but
then how would you
single player? I'm not against either or really.
No, but then the question is, how would you manage just the nature of the world? Again, using Borderlands as an example.
Well, that's your best point. Yeah, is for sure that
there are set areas, right? There are set areas in Borderlands where, they're pretty big, to be honest. Before you actually need to use a portal to go to another area, they're relatively large. But you're going to have that to some sort of an extent in Fallout, and it's just not going to feel open world anymore. Borderlands isn't really open world. It doesn't feel like that. You can't transition to different areas really easily.
Yeah, but the other thing, too, with Borderlands is you don't stop for conversations. You get a quest, you get an audio log, it starts a quest, you go there, you do this. I'm not trying to generalize it because I have a blast with Borderlands, but that's what you do. With Fallout, like you said, you stop for conversations. I think this would maybe simplify the role playing in practice, just from the way I'm thinking about it, because then you'd have to add multiple conversation options, which is possible. I don't know if anyone out there has played Karak. I know you have Divinity Original Sin, but multiplayer co-op play, you can do differentiating choices and still role play as the character you want to be without your friend having to agree, okay, that's how I want to play the game. So and then you can do a rock, paper, scissors type game to decide on what you're going to say in a conversation. I think it's possible, but point being is they have to build around it, and that might disrupt the original vision they have when pre-producing the game.
That's exactly that.
Yeah. It's weird that we're having to discuss it because there isn't much announced. That's what's actually weird to me. It's what's going to actually happen that Sunday? Because any of that could happen.
But Bethesda does this every year, though. They not to cut you off long. I just think they do this every year. They have the announcement for E3. You're like, what the fuck are they going to do? They have last time they did this, they had Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Last year, I think they had.
The new Wolfenstein is due.
Yeah, but what came out in spring last year? They always have a spring game before their
Dishonored.
E3.
No.
But this year it's Prey, and then ESO. Morrowind, I think, is right before E3, and then E3 happens.
What was Wolfenstein called? What was the Wolfenstein tease in the last year's E3?
The new Colossus.
The new Colossus. So maybe we see that. I was going to say, all right, as a really random thing, this is probably not going to happen, but look at what we just saw come on Xbox One backwards compatibility in the last week. Matty, we saw Rage.
Oh,
Rage
yes.
2.
Pete said it wasn't impossible, man. He was like, it's not impossible to imagine a sequel. I'm like, you're fucking right. Let's go. Make a definitive edition and put a fucking sequel next to that sucker. I'd like to see Brink get another try.
No, fuck off. No, Matty, I'm sorry. No.
Just another try. Take another crack. I know nothing about this game. Just from what I've read, I'm like, that sounds okay. Let's try it again. It's isn't it co-op based and stuff, right?
The only time I remember playing, I was at my friend's house, and he's like, I saw this game, the trailer showed you leaping over platforms and shit. I'm like, all right, looks cool.
I'm gonna watch
it was just
on
bad.
my phone while you guys keep talking. That's what
it was supposed to be parkour shooter.
Yeah, and it just wasn't a good game. It didn't look good. That was the very first thing that I thought of. The gameplay was really janky. Yeah, wasn't a big fan. Maybe if they reboot it, and this is the thing that I will say is that look at what happened with Prey. Look at what happened with Wolfenstein. These were games that were in development, got cancelled, and then were rebooted into a much different form, which Prey is looking to, again, I played it for that first hour. The story is really interesting. I think that game's going to be a very good game. Obviously, Wolfenstein was a very good game.
Do you know what my comments were loaded with? I'm not taking this away from him, by the way, but do you know what my comments were loaded with about Prey? They're like, Chris Avalon's writing it. Obviously, it's going to be good. And I'm like, because like they're doing the Obsidian joke again.
Fuck's sake. But I will say though, say
any game he's involved in, I can think of writing wise, has always been spectacular. I mean, it's
and that was the thing when I played the first hour. Nothing. It wasn't the gameplay. It wasn't the setting or anything like that. It was the story that gripped me more than anything else. And even when like maybe this is going to be a little bit of spoiler, but that first time when everything starts getting fucked up, it felt like System Shock. It was like purple lights, and then you picked up a wrench. I'm like, this is cool. This is Bioshock.
People were like,
none of that
dude,
stuff.
You spoiled something, Matty. I'm like, you realize like the reason they didn't put an NDA or a fucking embargo on certain things that I could say is because there's way more to the story than what I talked about.
First hour. It's the first hour. But the
wow,
thing I was saying
like
that
garbage. I'm watching gameplay right now. I'm sorry for what I said earlier. I have never seen this game before, but I mean, just like reading it, just the basic fundamentals.
Yeah, but I guess what I was saying about what's it called? Prey is that even with those cool Easter eggs, even with those cool things like the glue gun, for example, that you could climb up walls with, thing that sticks in my mind the most was the story. And I think, again, having Chris Avalon as a writer would add to that.
Wait, you can climb up walls with the glue gun? Like you can shoot little glue things and...
on the wall and they stick and you step up them?
Yeah, that's cool. They didn't fucking tell me that. That's fucking awesome.
They were like, dude, there's so much shit in that 1 hour demo that you could have done that you didn't. Like, you could have used that glue gun in the big area, in the big hall, climbed up the wall and got up to other platforms.
Holy fuck. That's awesome.
I know, it's pretty cool, right?
That is very cool. Wow. Yeah, that's arcane for you. That really is. But yeah, moving on. Let's talk about some real news here. Let's talk about some good news. Something to really get your blood pumping out there. That'll really get the audience springing out of their seat. Let's talk about Sony. Let's talk about the recent patent. Let's talk about this Switch-esque handheld console. Dude,
go on.
Fuck yes. I told you, they are going to do another fucking Vita. They're not going to call it the Vita. They're going to pull Nintendo, walk away from the Vita name. But it's going to be a Vita, like, in Seoul. And it looks awesome. There's 2 thumbsticks again, but they're actual. It's like it's literally like the Switch. It looks like 2 sides of a PS4 DualShock Kinect. It hasn't shown in the blueprints if they're removable, but then you got the nice tablet-like screen in the middle. I'm telling you, bro, it looks
patents are made all the time, and most of the time they don't result in shit.
Stop.
Just I'm trying not to get your hopes up.
Stop your shit.
Karak, just get this guy in order, please. We're not getting a Vita.
Yeah, I don't. The patents mean nothing. So there's
Thank
so many different patents.
That's not true.
But if it does get made, that's there's some issues with the 3DS and issues with handhelds I have, and Sony's a pretty good company at trying to fix some of those. So I'd be really happy to see it. But I used to follow patents pretty closely, and then realized after a while, I'm like, oh shit! For every 1,000 patents, one thing comes out of it, possibly, if it makes it to final whatever. So I usually don't watch those too close. I saw Maddie's post and in Discord and looked it up, and then checked out some of the posters who had originally talked about it. And I mean, in all honesty, it looks, as somebody else said, I think they said it in Discord, man, that looks severely rough for 2015 patent. And it actually does, which also begs a question, if that's real, what year are we talking about? And when would that come out?
It popped up last year. I don't know if this is an updated one or something like that. But what it shows to me, but what's more exciting is that it shows, for me personally, interest. I hope.
Yeah, for sure.
That they're at least looking into other ideas. Like, they're not ignoring, like, okay, the Vita wasn't really that successful, let's just not do handhelds. They're at least open, possibly, to the idea.
Yeah, but one thing, Maddie, this is also the same company that brought out a patent that would sell you Doritos if they saw you eating it with their camera, their USB camera. There was a patent about them running commercials by looking at what you had in your house. So let's hope that doesn't happen at the same time.
What the
Yeah,
fuck?
Sony's run some pretty weird patents.
All right,
Sony
yes,
and
they have,
Microsoft,
because I remember they said they were deciding between like the touchpad or
Yeah.
a mechanic that like created smells in game. So while you're playing,
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Like if I'm
There
in
was
like,
That's
dumpster?
called the nozzulous rift, all right? That actually exists.
there was some pretty crazy stuff with Sony and Microsoft, especially during the Kinect days, where they were both fighting for patents. And what that really happens is one company hears a rumor, and then they write up a patent and they try to patent their stuff. So it's not really that crazy. But the shit was nuts. It was like, we're going to run this commercial, because of what we see with our USB cameras and stuff. It's just completely possible.
I'm not excited anymore. I get it.
I think if they release one,
Just gonna clip
here's what
my
I
mouth
here's what
shut.
I hope it's super powerful, and that it has all Sony, that it's just completely compatible. Because anything now, that's one of the problems with, I think, handhelds. Now that Switch is coming out, you can't really release a handheld and say it's got its own games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Sony couldn't say this is a Vita. And it's only got Vita. It only runs Vita games. They have to basically say this also runs PS5 games because or 4.
This is the question that I think we should really be talking about. Is there a place for a dedicated handheld gaming console? And hold on.
Stupid
we know.
question.
No, it's not a stupid question because we know that the 3DS has done well. Okay, obviously it's done fantastically well. We've seen though with the Switch. Then I still think they're lukewarm on supporting the 3DS in the very long term. Definitely in the short term, I think they're going to be committed to that. But if the Switch proves really, really well, I see them saying, you know what, we're going to focus on this. We're going to put all our resources in this. And that's first and foremost a home console and a handheld console second. I think that the future could possibly be that. It could possibly be having a Switch console.
I love handhelds, man. They can never go. They're part of it's nostalgia.
But I'm talking about dedicated hand.
Yeah, I know. People
consoles,
wonder
Matt.
why though. Like why? I'm so hellbent on like the Vita is awesome, 3DS is okay. It's because I grew up with them and I play them all the time, and there has not been like a moment where I have not had a handheld. So it just for me, it's like it's always exciting seeing them continue because I can understand why they could possibly fade. You got mobile games on your phone. You literally have your phone that's connected to everything. Why not just put games there? It's convenient. It's always with you. It's an easy platform for developers to sell to a mass market. I get it. But so it's always just like, oh, yes, like another handheld. That's why I admire Nintendo. I'm so excited for the Switch, by the way, because I'm going to PAX the weekend after it comes out. And so I'm in the car, in my fucking hotel, I'm going to be playing Zelda. And I'm actually really excited for Zelda. I can't lie. Like, I'm not a Zelda guy. You know that. I've talked about it before. I'm really excited for Zelda, though, because the Game Informer magazine came in for that. I've been, like, really just faintly paying attention to stuff. I really want to discover it and have that Zelda experience, even though I'm talking about how people felt with, how I felt with Twilight Princess, where it was like, wow, I actually really fucking like this. I kind of want to feel that again. So that's what I'm really hoping for.
But my plan with the Switch is to play Breath of the Wild and then go on the Virtual Console, which I'm assuming there's going to be a Virtual Console for this. They haven't really talked about it, but replaying all the major Zelda games. I just cannot fucking wait for that. But I personally just don't think there really is a place for a dedicated handheld console. Like moving forward, I know that mobile games and even dedicated gaming console games are even very different. Mobile games, we're not seeing like a Pokemon style game on a mobile like we are on the 3DS, but I still don't think that there's a big enough market to support that. And maybe I think Sony is just experimenting with something like the Switch because Nintendo's doing it. And if it's very popular, oh, look at this patent that we have. We can now put more R&D into it and develop it further. So
the way I look at it, I know it's a very small sample size when I say this. I just look at PAX. Everyone's got their fucking 3DS out there. Everyone online.
That's true. That is very true.
And I know that's still a place where you're going to find more hardcore gamers than just, the casualized people. But I think, like you said, the success of the 3DS shows that there's definitely an interest if there's support for games. I think there's always an interest in a console if the games are good enough. That's kind of what I believe. At times, though, because that argument can just fight against itself because the Wii U has really good exclusives. The Vita also, I think, has really good exclusives. Both systems failed. So
Nintendo has the best exclusives. I will say that confidently.
But it's really, I think it's very market dependent, which is why I'm a little afraid for the Switch, is because there are still a lot of questions unanswered, and the system comes out in like a couple of weeks. So they should start answering questions. I think they really need to clarify a lot. Not just one Super Bowl commercial in the fourth quarter. You know, like start pumping out more commercials. Start investing in marketing.
No, but they are though. Like, have you seen their Nintendo YouTube channel? There is a fair bit on that. But it doesn't go into huge detail. I think they're more adverts.
Because like with YouTube and stuff, I mean, Karak really opened my eyes to that. That like with YouTube and stuff, you're targeting more of the hardcore audience, which is always good. You want to please them, but you want to expand beyond that and just get people in general talking about it, because then you'll reach another hardcore gamer through that. Where someone who's just kind of okay into video games will see a commercial on TV. Hey, what do you think about the Switch? Because I think everyone who's like maybe a little bit less of a freak gamer has that one friend who is big into gaming. I think everyone's got that friend. And so they just go to him. What do you think of the Switch? And that's how you get the conversation going, I think. So I think they truly need to start reaching out more in the mass promotion kind of way, where I think of Skyrim Special Edition, dude. I mean, I watch TV during every dinner. I usually have the NHL Network on. It seems like any channel I went on, that fucking game, a re-release, had more commercials than anything I've fucking seen. I couldn't believe it. Every 5 seconds, Dovahkiin, Fusroda. I'm like, fucking shit, stop, Bethesda. Like, it's everywhere. I could not escape it. But that was good marketing, because the game fucking sold really well. So it's like, I hope Nintendo's got money in the bank to go ahead and promote that stuff.
So much money in the bank, yeah.
I mean, why let it fail? Try, like, really. I'm not saying they're letting it fail, but why not go for broke here? Like, really go hard and try to make this your next big console. I know they're probably thinking right now, they're kicking back, yeah, we fucked up with the Wii U. You can't get worse than that, though, right? And it's like, well, guess what? You might want to get on to promoting this system, because it could be in the same boat again. That would really fucking suck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Whew. Got on a tangent there. So, hopes and dreams of mine crushed aside.
Yes.
How about we talk about Andromeda gameplay? There was Karak just clutches his eyes closed.
Dude, it was fucking cut like a Michael Bay film. Like, you need to show...
Michael Bay is a great director.
Yeah, he is, for explosions. He should be the explosion director. But the thing is like, I wish that was cut a little bit so you could see consistent gameplay, to see how it sort of, how the loop was happening, how your mechanisms were being handled, because it was just like, we're jumping, we're moving to the side, we're ducking, blah, 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 and you're like, Jesus Christ. And then they were even cutting moments from other moments and then interspersing stuff in the center. So it's like a guy was moving to the right, they showed something else, and then they literally cut back and the dude was still moving to the right and did whatever he's supposed to do. It's almost like when you don't have enough footage for a video game review. So,
Yes.
no, isn't that what it's like? I've been there too.
Yeah. Where you like, you think you've recorded like 9 hours of gameplay, you're like, that's enough. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. This fucking 10-minute review does not have enough
is
gameplay.
Eating up gameplay. And so, I mean, I'm excited to see it, but I think amongst you guys, I'm probably by far the lowest when it comes to excitement level for Andromeda. I'm pretty low. That didn't show me much. Yeah. It showed some action, which is cool.
Yeah,
but
I've grown a little more optimistic, but mind you, it's talk. Talk can be cheap. I covered a video or a story today on how they're saying they're taking inspiration from The Witcher 3's quest. I think that's good, and I think they've shown that they can take inspiration, maybe for better or for worse, with Inquisition, where they're like, yeah, we're trying to make Skyrim. And you look at the Hinterlands, I said this before, it's like, holy fuck, Skyrim. But with that being said, the combat, definitely, when they started showing, I liked what I saw in the terms of action. I was like, okay, I can definitely see myself really engaged in this. It's not like I can just break focus and kick back.
Right.
But at the same token, when they started bringing up the leveling screen, use any weapon you want with any class, use any power, I'm just like, I fucking hate that. I really don't like that, because I loved the old Mass Effect formula, multiple playthroughs, different classes, every character is different. I loved that. So to see them just getting rid of that, it kills me. It really does kill me. I'm hoping it works out. They said they're going to talk about that more in the next episode, along with like squad commands and stuff. They did show at the end, though, by the way, because you were saying you wanted to see more continuous gameplay. At the end, they did show about a minute of, and that's obviously not enough to think about a whole.
I might have missed
game.
that. I didn't see
But
that.
at the end,
so.
it was a pretty continuous stream of gameplay where they took cover, they were sniping a couple of enemies up top, they were fighting a big Hydra. It did have a Mass Effect feel, obviously, but I think that's important because you had like that big armored enemy which took teamwork to take down, but you also had the other soldiers taking cover up top. So I'm not as concerned about content or about combat. Sorry. But still, the worries are there for sure. It doesn't exclude the fact that they're changing from more limited to, oh, you can reverse any decision. It doesn't change the fact that Inquisition sucked and Dragon Age 2 sucked, and that 3 had its problems. So that why would Andromeda be any different? But I do believe there's a chance here to turn around. I see a chance. I see an opportunity more than anything. That's what has me hopeful for the game, but who knows?
What about you, Lone?
It's not a game that I'm going to pick up, to be honest. There's too many other things on my list that, first of all, I do want to ask you guys, are the Mass Effect games traditionally like very, very long games? Because I was saying some articles about Andromeda and how it's not really open world. I thought it was open world. Like at least open world-esque.
In a video, yeah. It's going to be built structurally a lot like Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 is a shorter game.
They're just hub-based.
Yeah, they're hub-based.
They're hub-based.
Yeah, every planet is its own hub. You haven't played Inquisition either, Lone. That's a good sample as to what I imagine Mass Effect Andromeda will be, where you travel in Inquisition, you'll travel to a new place in Ferelden, for example, and that'll be its own hub area with its own quest structure and everything. And Andromeda, Jesus.
Interesting.
Always kind of gave me that same feeling. For better or for worse, hopefully the side quests aren't like an MMO, but yeah, so I'm not shocked that they said it was open world, or that it's not open world.
Do you know what bothers me the most about these games? And I don't know, maybe this is why Lone isn't picking it up, or isn't as excited like I am. One of the things I noticed, and this happens a lot of times in open world games and open hub games, where there's a narrative dissonance that occurs where like you'll have a quest in one hub and then you go to the next hub and that hub exists completely and solely separate from the hub you just went to. And there's been a couple times where like a game will be all, you need to get gemstones because they're so rare. And then you go to the next place and it'll be like, so I've got so many gemstones and you're like, wait, what? And that's one thing that I think is nice about Mass Effect is you'll travel to planets. So at least you know that one planet to the next, there can be a pretty big difference. But in Inquisition, I actually slightly disagree with Maddie and this is because, I don't disagree. I just think that less so does it feel like Skyrim, but it feels more so like ESO. The quests within Inquisition were made by MMO developers, and I think that you can feel that. What I'm nervous about, I am so nervous.
I meant visually, sorry. I should have specified that.
Absolutely. Okay, gotcha, absolutely. What I'm nervous about, guys, is I am so nervous, so fucking nervous that this is going to feel like Inquisition. And I liked Inquisition where Maddie didn't, but I didn't love it. There were definite huge issues, like leave the hinterlands, motherfucker, because you've been here for 40 hours, you know. I am so nervous that we are going to have this situation where it feels like a futuristic Inquisition where Hinterlands has been replaced by Medea 7, the new planet that's ice. And you're going to be like, and then you have the Ubisoft thing. You can't hammer Ubisoft and not hammer fucking BioWare. So if this kind of stuff happens,
that's why I'm not too confident about Horizon. I saw the climb the tall structure, Zero Dawn.
Climb
the tall dinosaur thing, plant something in his fucking head. Oh, the map clears up. Look at all these objectives. I'm like, I fucking hate that. I don't
necessarily hate it. I just think that if you're gonna hate it, you need to hate it in every game, right?
Yeah,
you can't be like, you know.
No, I agree.
Sure.
I didn't like it.
I'm just very nervous about.
You know, I just because I mean,
so
even
nervous.
when it's like it's just because it's a blatant. You've mentioned this with I think we were talking about some game, including like Arkham Combat. I think it was Mad Max. It was like. I think we were talking about how like if you're gonna take from another game, it's not just taking from it. It's like how are you gonna evolve it, put your own spin on it, and
make it
forward.
fit. And
make it fit. And so for me, that's what I see with all these games is you're just taking that formula and using it as an excuse to open up objectives on your map. It's like, why not just have you talk to someone? Maybe they're an informant for the area. Something like that just is different. It just seems like all these locations say, climb to the big tall thing, there's your objectives. It feels less meaningful. So that's why I've never liked it. Or I liked it probably until AC2, and then every game afterwards started doing it.
So here's something positive. Did you guys see in the video, the action video, that you can control pole now? You can control where people go.
That. Yep.
That's Force Unleashed in BioWare games. Like that to me, having that ability and co-op, or not co-op, multiplayer, the ability to like have one person maybe throw a dude towards you and you shoot the dude out of the air. Like there's some
combat looked great.
Stuff.
You gotta be honest, in some fashion. Like he held some guy in midair, pushed him into a group, and then started burning with his flamethrower. I was like, okay, I can see the creativity you can bring to this. I really like that. He said something about soft cover system. I don't like soft cover all that much.
Yeah, it's not push button. It's a soft cover. It is for sure soft cover.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I've always been iffy on soft cover because when it works, it's great. It's very much, okay, crouch, slide into cover. It feels very seamless. But when it doesn't work, it's like, fucking damn it, please stick to what I need you to. And when you're aiming, it's like hard to find the edge. Where usually like the Gears of War, press A, stick to cover. Then I go all the way to the edge until I can't anymore. Then I know it's safe to lean out. Where this soft cover, you just keep going around, and then all of a sudden you're poking out of cover. You're getting lit the fuck up.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wants a life? Who the fuck wants a life-saving mechanic to have the word when it works?
Yeah.
Like that is bullshit. Like if my gun sometimes shot, I would get another fucking gun. Like this makes no sense. And so soft cover, that's one of the major issues with soft cover, is that when it works should never be spoken. That makes no sense because it's a game where you're being shot at. And if you can die because the game chooses to just not work, that's a problem for me. That's a game mechanics problem. And I have an issue with soft covers because of that. There are flat problems with soft cover. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was just but he was like taking cover behind the hell. I always forget the name of it.
Or where you're like moving when you're trying to cover in those kind of games where like you'll go against a wall and then suddenly you pop out on the other wall and that's where the enemy is and you're all great.
Yeah, it can be catastrophic. That's the thing. It can really screw you over. I noticed they had a jump mechanic that has not been in previous Mass Effect games. For reference, you have a jump pack, they called it, and so you could like burst around. So I'm assuming there'll be a little more exploration. That's cool. But what I noticed was, for example, I think the move is called Nova. If you're a Vanguard, where you like, it's so sick. You fucking like your fist lights up and you pound the ground. I saw him jump and then connect to the Nova. So I like how maybe you can jump and string different powers together. I thought that was pretty neat. Although I'm not going to get insanely hyped over jumping. It's just like, it's kind of something you expect in a game. I feel not that it doesn't work.
High definition
games.
Jumping.
Yeah, not that it doesn't work in different games, but it's more so that
HD jump.
I just expect jumping to be a thing, and when jumping's not, always.
There's games where it's still not a jump though, Matty. There's games that recently don't have jumps.
Neo doesn't have jumps.
Yeah, it's like when you play it and you're all, what the fuck? I'm glued to the ground.
Yeah,
what's
like,
going?
I can roll, I can dive, I can spin. I can't jump. Like, what the fuck? You can't even climb. It makes no sense.
It can feel very weird. That's for sure.
Because
I don't know,
see a
guys.
way to get up to something or get down to something or something across in the distance. You're like, if only I could jump, which any human can do. So it's very confusing when games don't let you jump. But,
yeah, it's going to be. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but what I saw looked okay. But there's so many issues with that game that really confuse me about what's occurring when I play it. That it just hasn't risen my excitement to that level of saying, "Oh man," it's more like, That's weird too because
army vibe in the sense of like you did everything. Your squad was just kind of hanging in the back, which is very not Mass Effect. It's very much like go here, you go there, target that enemy. I'm gonna get this one. This seemed more like I'm gonna fucking dash in the air, set these enemies ablaze. You fuckers sit back, like hold my beer, that type of shit. Right. So I'm definitely with you. Very iffy on things, but it's slowly instilling some confidence in me. But yeah, there's definitely some concern still there. I'm just trying to be a little more optimistic to give it that fair chance that maybe it'll be worthy of. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if this game sucked, man, I wonder if BioWare knows how deep in shit they are. I've said this before. I mean, they'll be so utterly, in my eyes, fucked if this is another game from them that's not good. At least
it would be weird to see maybe it sell, on those pre-sales sell well. It would be weird if its tail end sales aren't good and you start having that question of like the support for the multiplayer. How is that going to be handled? Like what are they going to do for their next games? Does Mass Effect get shelved for a while? I don't think it'll be that situation, but I do think there's a very distinct chance of it just not resonating with as many people as they're hoping.
Are there sales numbers for Inquisition?
I don't know.
Because that would be interesting to look at for the sake of comparison.
So Lone doesn't like. Do you just not like BioWare games, Lone? Like Inquisition and like Mass Effect? Are those just not your style?
No, it's not even that. It's just that I've never gotten into them, and I guess this is probably to me personally. Again, it's at a time where I really started to, I guess, see the Mass Effect games, see that I could potentially like them, but I just had no time to play them. It's like I only have time to play one really, really big game, and that's just been Fallout, for the lack of a bit of a term. I did want to ask, though, are the Mass Effect games that you could just play for the main story and just pretty much push through them, even though they probably shouldn't be played like that? Can that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Very much
and
so.
They're not, in my eyes, they're not crazy long. One is pretty short. 2 is pushing 30 hours.
2's massive, isn't it?
No, 2 is just kind of like what people define as the best one because it carries your ME1 data and really makes good use of it, where 3 necessarily didn't when it came to the ending. So that's why 2 is like everyone's favorite. Karak, I know you said 1's your favorite, right?
Yeah, I'm just crunchy, like or old. I like the old crunchy stuff a little bit better, but
no, I understand that. I like 1.
I think a person could play those. I think he's right. I think like the cool thing about Mass Effect is if you want to do the side quests, I'm just going to be honest, most of them don't feel as much battle side quests as exploring the world side quests, and I think that's what BioWare has above other companies, where it doesn't feel like except for Inquisition, it didn't always feel like I was collecting 7 new fucking nin roots or whatever. Like they were all, go talk to this guy, and sometimes there's a battle, but there's also really intrigue, and you're like, wait, what's going on the Citadel? Like, who's doing what? And it felt like it's one of the few games that I felt like the side quests have me explore the world. So what's funny about Mass Effect, yes, you can play it and you can get the full story and have a great time. Or when you do a side quest, it's not, to me, it doesn't feel like the drag that I'm normally accustomed to. And that includes 3, which I wasn't a massive fan of. I feel like they do a really good job of being like, hey, here's a side quest, but really what it's about is like finding out some new cool character in the game world and some mystery. I was telling Maddie, I think we were all on a podcast when I mentioned this. I could be wrong, but the one character in 3 that's in the hospital that you can check, that you can check a gun out to, and you never know what happens unless you read the journal and you find out that she fucking killed herself. And you're like, whoa, like they're just hidden. There's just these little hidden secrets everywhere. And I think you'd enjoy. I get what you mean though. Like you'd only have a finite amount of time, but they don't require the typical input that some games do, which I mean by grinding away.
Origins. Dragon Age Origins is fairly long.
Dragon Age.
You just push through the story like 20 hours, but I mean, it's
like 60 if you were to do
if you
most
really
of it.
Like a new player taking your time, then that's 60. Lone, if you're gonna play a BioWare game, you gotta play Knights of the Old Republic. I hate to tell you.
Fuck.
You don't really have an option.
Just stop pushing it, okay? Just stop pushing. Knights of the Old Republic. Blah blah. I mean, pronounce it.
I'm playing Zelda, so
KOTOR and Jade Empire. KOTOR and Jade Empire both have a good. Jade Empire is cool because it's Chinese and steampunk magic, which you would not usually put together.
What I was going to say, that most games should have you have easy, medium, hard difficulty. They should have a full-time job difficulty.
Everyone's narrative. Easy. A couple do. Narrative. There's difficulty called narrative in. I'm playing it right now. What the fuck game is that? But there's a difficulty that says narrative, and it says, "Do you just want to fucking experience the story?"
That's awesome. What game is that?
I'm trying to remember. There's multiple ones. Cadiz and I were just playing it. It's Oh damn! I can't get to my system, but I'll post it in the in the comments. But yeah, there's a couple games that basically state, do you just want to fucking... Oh, do you know another game that does? Shadow Warrior. In Shadow Warrior, if you pick easy, it's like, do you just want to sit down after a busy day and fucking kill people? Pick this difficulty.
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
I love that idea of just like, you're all not hard asses who want to fucking Dark Souls every game. Like, sometimes somebody wants to just, play an hour. So.
That's so true. Oh, that's great. How about this new mod limit on Xbox and PS4? Really, it's an increase, correct?
No. So what they're saying now... No, so you've still got, from what I see, the however many gigabyte limit. But now there's a limit on the actual specific number of mods you can have installed at any one time. So on Xbox One, it's 150 mods. On PS4, it's 100 mods. And I think the reason they cited for that was for stability reasons. Like, apparently there was concern about the stability of the games on each of those consoles. And I'm wondering if those concerns were expressed by Microsoft and Sony as opposed to players themselves.
A lot of people have tweeted at me before, and they've said, like, I loaded up my games on mods and it doesn't even start up anymore. Like, I have to delete the actual data from my console and then put in a fresh hard disk to get it to work.
Can bet, if that's true, you can bet that came from like Microsoft and Sony, because they are the ones who unfortunately will actually receive a lot of those complaints, and you can bet that they fed back to Bethesda pretty fucking quick. And we're like, dude, you're making our systems look like shit. You gotta fix that. So 100 mods though.
Yeah,
I have 380 on my PC, and I probably only need 12.
100 mods cap isn't that small.
No, that's not even a cap. That's, man. And good mods. Let's,
I mean, it depends. Here's the thing: is PC players will snark. The ones who play a ton of Fallout play a lot of mods, because they will. I'm not even kidding. They will load up on hundreds. They will.
I have 300. Yeah, I know.
They will load up on hundreds, and so, to them, they might look at this cap and go, "Fuck you guys." But I think on consoles, especially on PS4, I mean, I'd struggle to find 100 mods I'd want to download on PS4.
Here's the thing.
That's true. That's true.
Some mod makers may work together and merge their mods too. You merge a mod, it's one mod, and you can still get 2 or 3 different mods mixed in.
Yeah, there's a lot of compatibility with them too.
Yeah,
so that's possible.
I think it's it's probably just a reflection of the fact that they're on consoles, and these consoles anyways aren't just not that powerful. And if it means that I guess it's for gamers that don't necessarily understand what the technicalities behind modding and how resource intensive they can be, especially when you're installing up to 200 mods. And I'm sure that there were many gamers that were trying to do that on the PS4 and Xbox One, and were thinking, what's happening to my game?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. They're new to the whole process, so they're probably just like, yep, I'll get this one, I'll get this one, we're good. And then they all of a sudden...
Now I have like 300 mods, but I can't load my save file.
Or it takes like 5 hours to load. Fuck that.
Yeah. But again, PC players, we're used to that. We're used to experimenting with so many different mods and realizing, why is this one area of the world just locked out to me? Have I fucked with my save file a little bit too much? Probably. I should cut back down. So that's why I think it's a good thing.
The worst is when you can't find that one mod that is breaking your game.
Oh, it's the worst.
Checking
I still use Mod Organizer, which I think went away, but Mod Organizer I use, and man,
oh really?
Yeah, because it uses that false. I think Nexus does it now, but it didn't at the time. It uses the fake file tree, which I never have to worry about corrupting anything, because I don't know how many times I reinstalled Skyrim before that, where I'm like, fuck the mods, everything's purple, everything's purple. Oh fuck! And you have to. And now with I think something else has come out that's also above that, but the mod systems. I think on consoles it makes sense to sort of restrict them just a little bit. And I mean, you're still playing with 100 mods, and one mod can be such a massive change, change. So I think it's a boon to stability, and it's something that's an okay trade-off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an okay trade-off.
So
and to be honest,
does it have to deal with the amount you download rather than the file size of each of them? You know what I'm saying?
No, remember, since it's an ESM file or an ESP file, it goes into resident memory. So yeah, a little bit of it is memory, but also they have to save spots in the save game too, to make sure the save game can save whatever new item ID is and all that. Okay, so I think a lot of it is just a mixture of those, but also graphically, I mean, it still runs pretty well, but I've seen some people with some mods where they're running on their Xbox and you're like, because originally the mods weren't affecting the FPS. And then it seems like the more you add, the more the consoles are like, what the fuck, you know, and you
just can't handle this.
Yeah. And my PC does, by the way. So if anybody tries to say that their PC can handle a certain amount of mods without, you know, seeing frame rate hits, that's not realistic. I mean, we do see those, but we just have more power, right?
Yeah.
Like the only time I see this being a limiting factor is if, and apparently on PS4, we talked about this last week with Dover in the podcast, a lot of the mods are just cheat mods. And I can see this affecting people that just install a bunch of cheat mods that don't necessarily strain your system or deduct from FPS that might want to have over 100 mods. But to be honest, if you're having over 100 cheat mods in Fallout, I don't think you're playing it right.
Or the modders aren't doing a good job of making a mod that does multiple cheats.
Yeah, exactly.
Last bit of news is that Activision. Oh man.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I just find this.
They're listed as not 1, not 2, but number 3 in the most admired. Not a typo. Top 3 most admired companies. The 2 ahead of them are Disney and Netflix, which are plausible.
Okay.
Great
Who
movies.
did this list?
Netflix
by the way?
and chill. Then you got Activision at number 3. What the? What? Okay, so yeah, they are for all they've done. That's been so good for our industry and consumers. They have not burnt us. They have not fucked us royally. They totally deserve that number 3 spot, I'd say. Right?
Who published this list?
Fortune, I believe.
Fortune. Top and I'm going to find it now. It's I never like these list things in general, to be honest. I don't know. I see these like top 5 or top 10 best places to work, top 10 best professions, and you think some of the times, really, like who came up with this final list? How scientific is it? They're so subjective. So I can see why Matty, for example, is disagreeing severely with this. You're disagreeing with this, right, Matty?
I'm laughing at it.
Okay, but that's the point. And it's not just this. Again, there are so many different lists that are like, these are the top 5. I've literally seen a list of top 10 sexiest professions. Like, the fuck is sexiest profession mean?
Well, that's the thing. If it's a list that's not really sample sized or whatever, just start off your article by saying, this is my opinion. There you go.
But all it is, Matt, is, again, this is the exact same reason why top 5 videos are so popular and top 10 videos are so popular on YouTube. It generates controversy, you know?
But sometimes they're just, I don't even think they are always a controversy generator. It's usually a good way for like a YouTuber just to combine their opinion instead of making multiple videos on like, this is what I like about this topic, this is what I like about this topic. It's just like 5 things I like about this game. Like I did that.
But no, it's not always like that. There's a lot of shit
from my perspective. I use it as like a tool where Andromeda was like, I've been talking negatively about this game a lot, which isn't a bad thing. But I was just like, I'm going to toss some positivity this way. Here's 3 things I like about the game that I've heard about so far. It was just as simple as that.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering who did these. Like, they probably sent out a poll or something through their readers. And who are their readers? I mean, are they readers gamers? Who really knows?
I think also we're forgetting that Activision has a media group which handles Skylanders Academy, which is like one of the number 1 shows on Netflix. It handles a couple things that might be skewing the data where we're thinking it's all gamers, but Activision does have some other. It's like Warner Brothers, where if you think of Warner Brothers as a game division, you're like, okay, but then you're like, wait, oh shit, they make movies. So, or you're the other way around, and you're like, Warner Brothers does games, depending on what industry you're in. So I think Activision has some other stuff on the side as well that might have colored. And this is a weird group. It's like if they said
they've done so much bad shit. I just feel personally that even if they run this one of the top shows on Netflix, Skylanders was pretty successful. And Call of Duty,
you mentioned this before
Destiny,
the podcast, Matty. Blizzard,
yeah. I'm just thinking they've done. I just feel like so much they've done negatively has outweighed that.
But you have to ask, Matty, if this is a list about top admired companies.
Well, are you really defending these guys?
I'm putting a perspective.
Fuck
is this
that.
for a particular year? No, hold up. If this is saying top admired companies for 2017, you can't consider the stuff they've done before 2017 or before 2016/2017.
What the fuck have they done this year too?
It'll be 2016/17.
they did something good for us. Actually, you're right. They took their shitty fucking superhero games off the marketplace. They did something good. I'll put them in top 3 for that. They took
what game is it?
Amazing Spider-Man 2. They took what else was it? Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan. Took that one off the marketplace. And
what do you mean off the marketplace?
Digital.
You mean they're not
digital?
Wow, they're not selling them anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. So they pulled like a fucking Afro Samurai 2?
I think they lost their Marvel license because you got Telltale working on a Marvel game, Square Enix now. You see them handing out the Marvel license to different, better developers rather than just having Marvel own it and making all these games.
I think this is sort of like if Cooking USA said, here's the top 10 fucking game companies, or here's the top 10 companies. It's a group that doesn't necessarily reflect us and doesn't necessarily reflect knowledge within the industry either. So to me, it doesn't bother me. It's like a Rolling Stone thing where they cover something that really makes no sense, or Maxim magazine doing video game reviews. It's like, fuck off. Yeah, I mean,
sure, I'm known for the overreaction on this podcast, probably. But it's just I fucking
really,
I just fucking see them getting praise, and I'm like, you fucking blow. Do not fluff your pillow. That's how I view it.
Okay, think about it this way. Whenever anybody gives you praise and somebody's in the comments going, fuck, man, Matty sucks.
They can fuck themselves then.
we got the same
They're just haters.
They're just haters.
That's the thing. I'm just an Activision hater. I'm just a voice in a crowd of praisers, bro.
Apparently, if you for that group,
I think it's bullshit. I refuse to believe that that's anything but fucking inaccurate.
Yeah, it's inaccurate in your opinion, and I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make. Any of these lists,
I could probably look up
usually don't agree with
shitty things Activision has done, shitty things,
and you could probably look up 40 good things that they've done.
I'll
too.
fucking open up another search bar
Matty,
for that.
Listen. The point that I'm making, and this is why I brought up YouTube videos.
This is like watching a human fall apart. This is like a TV video, except
it's like the Total
Matty.
Biscuit video, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When people make those videos on YouTube, like the top 10 best characters in this game or top 10 best quests, they don't need to say that it's their opinion explicitly. Of course it's their opinion. Of course it's subjective. And in this particular fortune list or whatever it is, it's probably the opinion of their readers. It's all subjective. Of course, there are people who are going to disagree with it. So, yeah.
Well, here's something good they did. Look, everybody, Activision is doing a good thing that is not evil or greedy. Publishing powerhouse giving away some of its corporate bucks to indie devs.
Yeah.
Prize goes to Rignaut's Broadside, $75,000. That was the second place prize. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But also another thing that I will say as well, something that I used to follow pretty closely when I was in university was top rankings of universities around the world. Do you know how much those rankings differ from publication to publication in terms of, for example, even just in Australia, the top universities, there are some lists that say the Australian National University is the top. There are some that say the University of Melbourne is the top. They all differ because they all have different factors upon which they measure on,
that applies
right?
with any real. I agree with you. It applies with any form of polling. Is you're especially like if you get. I'm not trying to make it political, but if you go for a political poll, it's hard to really get a truly accurate one depending on like what state you're in, what town you're in. It can very much
what
skew
publication,
the views, and the publication can skew the views of what that poll represents, and what would serve you best to just get multiple samples. But still, point being,
let's put it this way: if a far right news website did a poll, it's probably going to skew far right. If a far left website did a poll, it's probably going to skew far left because that's just who their contingent readers are. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Not that either thing is a bad thing. I'm not making political comments.
I'm
just saying.
Activision's community manager said this in response to why people hate Activision. One of the things is they are the top dog. I call it Yankee syndrome. The Yankees win, and the Yankees are a well-funded team, so people like to hate them.
I don't really follow that sport.
Baseball.
So I have something that before we close that I want to ask you guys about that pisses me off. So, and it's separate from this, unless Matty still wants to rage on Activision.
No,
I've got something else. I've got something you can rage
to take
on.
Me down another peg, but I.
Oh hell no! I agree with you. I just don't give a shit about the poll. I agree with you. That's why I don't give a shit about the
polls.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. So, did you guys realize that fucking Zelda is locking hard mode behind their season pass?
Yeah, that was.
Did you?
Really weird.
Yeah,
I saw that. I'm like, how do you not
I
How
didn't
do you
see
do
that though.
Yeah, so basically in their season passes, they're offering a map feature, which also begs the question, what the fuck is a map feature? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean on my main map, you'll finally show me moving around? Like, what does that mean? But one of the things is that hard mode, you can't finish the game and get it, anything like that. It's not even included day one. It's included on their later DLC. So some people said that there's a ranger mode, I think, in Zelda's, which is a typical hard mode that is usually there when you beat it or whatever. I'm just really not happy about a difficulty being in a season pass. This
is kind of like Fallout 4 survival mode that was brought in later.
I think that
but
was
that was
intentional,
free.
too. I think
that was
intentional.
free.
That was part of their post-launch
that was free,
content plans. And that's it.
Yeah, this I just don't like. I don't like. You're paying for a mode, and I mean, unless the mode is structurally different, like mobs are made up different. But Diablo does that shit, and their shit, you know. Like, I mean, like the idea of saying that a difficulty is behind a DLC bothers me to no end. Like we're starting to get to that point to where it's like, what the fuck is DLC? Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to cut the shit out of as Matty said about Sniper, it's like you open up Sniper and it's like DLC gun. Oh no, Joker was telling me that earlier today. He was like, he opened up Sniper Elite and it was like DLC gun, which is true.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that shit, right? I don't want to,
and then campaign and then campaign DLC, which makes sense, but I'm saying that was right off launch.
I don't want to open up Zelda and have it say normal mode, hard mode, DLC, or buy the season pass. Like, wait, what? Yeah. I don't know. I just don't like the idea at all. Now, some people
cheaper, but still, it's shady. It's a silly move.
Yeah.
They could offer. Here's the thing: is that people are very excited for Zelda. If they just offered more Zelda, not just a mode, I think people would eat up the season pass easily. But instead, they locked.
Well, They do have, so I think it's the second DLC pack. They have a new story, a new dungeon, and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. The first one's like Trials, which have been in previous Zelda games, I believe.
Yeah, the only thing that irks me is that you can't buy each individual pack individually.
That's another thing. Yes, you can't. Yeah, you're not allowed to buy them. You have to
buy the whole thing as $20.
God, fucking damn it.
What is Nintendo? God damn! I swear to God, they live in a completely different era than like some of the shit that they pull. It feels like I said this in my review, like the difference between grift and gift, and it's like the Nintendo just has no clue about the difference, and they're just grifting you to no end. It's like, I'm gonna find ways to cheat you and trick you out of your classic NES. We raised the price on eBay to unbelievable amounts ways. Like the stuff that they do, artificial limiting of hardware. These kind of things are shady as hell, and we're almost getting to the point now where it's anti-consumer. Like, I mean, I would say we probably are past that point, but
it's weird though, because they've done something like this, but then now their consoles aren't region locked. Now, when you buy digital games, they're not specifically locked to a hardware or to an ID or whatever it is. So if you lost your particular Switch, then there goes all your games. I know that there were workarounds around that, but now that's pretty much consistent. Everything is tied to your online account. So they are moving to being more like consumer friendly, but then stuff like this happens, which is just weird.
Yeah. I was kind of shocked when you said that you can't buy them separately. I don't think I've heard of that for a while. You can't buy a DLC separately. You got to buy the fucking season pass.
Because you can still buy, even though it's much more expensive, with Call of Duty, for example, you can do the season pass or buy each individually. Isn't that the thing still?
You can do that with basically any DLC. Think of Fallout. You can buy Nuka World and nothing else. I can't think of a game that said, no, you can't download this separately. You got to buy the whole fucking thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like me sitting down in a restaurant. I eat like half my burger. I'm going to take the rest home, and the fucking owner coming up to me and saying, you fucking finish that shit or else you're not leaving. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird... But
I was going to say, though, it'll pretty much be like you walk into McDonald's and you either can only buy a meal or nothing. Like, you can't buy the chips separately or the drink separately.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a fries. It's like, well, can I buy fries? Oh, I'm sorry, no, we don't sell frise. Wait, what? No, those are in the meal. Yeah, it's. I just wanted to ask you guys because I find it. I
didn't even know it was that bad. I knew they liked the mode behind it. I was like, okay, they're just taking advantage of the Zelda fans. No surprise there. But yeah, I didn't know, number one, that it was, that little content, and number two, I didn't know that it was just like a whole thing. And mind you, like the defense of that from the Nintendo fans will probably be that it's cheaper than most season passes, but they're still
it is. That's the thing. It is cheap.
They're taking money still for. I think a hard mode, you could argue, should be included in a game. I don't think that's a lot.
No, but so this is the thing. Like in terms of the hard mode, I don't necessarily mind so long as if that hard mode, the development starts after release, right? This is something they're putting extra resources in, and it's like a complete, as Karak said, a complete overhaul that makes it a somewhat different game. I guess you can kind of argue, like, again, Fallout 4 survival mode does. So I don't necessarily mind that. Like, to me, so long as whatever goes into a DLC is something that happens post-release, then I'm okay with that, because then that is technically extra content.
What's very strange...
Yeah.
is that they're releasing the hard mode in the second pack, if I remember correctly, not the
That's
first
right.
one. I don't know why you'd
And the
wait.
first one's on launch.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know that, but still.
So the first one on launch, you just get different items.
When I say second one, I meant I'm not considering that first one with like the mini shit items that.
Like the treasure chest, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the actual deep content packs rather.
Right.
That second one, which is at the end of the year. They're waiting until the end of the year to release a hard mode. I think it would be more beneficial to give the hard... we were talking about Fallout 4 survival mode, like that was that was before, I think, the first slate of DLC, or maybe it was in between the first two, something like that. It was in the beginning, though, where it was refreshing enough to come back again with all this new content and then this new difficulty and get, for example, back into Zelda. That would be good with the hard mode, but they're sort of... They're alienating their player base in a sense where it'll be at its, I think, bare minimum at that point. And I mean, how many are you going to bring back?
Aren't they releasing that pack in like they say summer 2017? What does that mean?
Summer is the first actual with the trials and stuff. I remember that. And then fall, I think, is when.
No, I mean for you guys, when does summer range? Summer's
that's
June, July, August for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 months there.
That's not that bad though. Right, like that's several months after release.
Yeah, I don't care. Sorry, I think it's the biggest line of bullshit ever. You know what they need to do? Don't call it hard mode then. Call it rearranged mode or call it something and really go crazy.
I think part of it's
really
their
go
wording.
crazy.
They said survival
it's
mode.
Their wording,
it would have been like, survival mode. I think that's part of it
but
too.
Hard difficulty just seems weird.
Yeah, it's like you can play on easy and normal. So it's like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Unless the game's like fucking brutal on normal difficulty, there's always that possibility.
Yeah, true.
Where it's like, fuck,
Dark
I can't even
Zelda.
fathom playing it on hard. I gotta pay for that shit. I guess that's maybe what they're thinking, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all the news we have. Is there anything extra we wanted to toss in there?
No, I did want to quickly chat about E3 opening its doors to the public. We didn't really have that last year.
Sorry,
so no, that's all right. So E3 now, obviously, it's not just media and trade. It's now 15,000 tickets being released to the public. And I guess I just wanted to ask you guys: is Matty's obviously been to E3? Karak, you've been to E3, haven't you?
One time, but prior to doing the channel.
Okay, so I don't know. I just want to get your thoughts on what you think about that. I think it is pretty much a good thing because we saw EA back out, Acti back out of E3 last year. Although EA still kind of did their own thing. What do you think about E3 being open to the public now?
It was already
Go for it,
crowded as
Matty.
fuck. That's the way I look at it. I'm like, fuck, it was already crowded, and you're adding like 15,000 more people to this. I thought. Without EA and Activision, mind you, I haven't been there before that, but without EA and Activision, I thought the convention floor was still pretty flooded with awesome stuff to see and play.
Yeah.
So I didn't really give a shit that they weren't there. EA can go ahead and do its own thing. Doesn't really matter to me. I admire them for stepping out and having like an EA Play thing that involves the public. But my thing is, I've always viewed E3 as like, this is where the announcements happen. Same thing with Gamescom, even though it'll kind of contradict what I'm about to say, but I always viewed it as like, this is where the announcements happen. This is where the press, the YouTubers and streamers come and do their coverage. Not that the public shouldn't be there, because I actually met a couple of viewers there, which was awesome. But it's just, I viewed it as that's where I feel like now it's starting to blend almost into that PAX kind of thing, where it's just like, let's have a lot of fun. And I just feel like this is me being a little more old school, I think. Just with based out, I've always viewed E3s. I've always viewed it as like this trade show. Let's learn about upcoming products, inform the consumer. I never viewed it as like a fun attendee type of thing. Because I think, I'm not trying to fluff my own pillow like I was talking about earlier, but I think I busted my ass pretty hard at E3 where it was less, it was rewarding work, but it was awesome to finally be at E3, but it was not like this fun, sensational trip because I was, at the convention all day, and I literally went back to the hotel after maybe going out to dinner or something and worked on videos that entire night. So for me, it's very odd to hear it open up to the public because how do they view it? They view it different than me, clearly, which is fine. It's just that, like I said, I look at E3 maybe a bit from a different perspective than other people.
Yeah, E3's having problems. Like
That's probably why I've heard about that.
Anyway,
yeah, Gamescom.
Yeah, so and because companies are just deciding to do their own things too, and it's like release schedules don't have to just be in the holiday. They don't just have to be announced in the summer at E3. Like there's just various different things that are causing all this. But one thing that bothers me a little bit is the fact that E3 and PAX, you have your press and your YouTubers and your video gamers meeting up with PR, possibly setting schedules early. And then you have what I consider the demographic of people that in some way are going to get shafted, where they buy their tickets, these normal fans, and they maybe only get to see a couple things because somebody like myself is stepping ahead of them, taking their spots.
That's true.
And it bothers me a little bit, actually, as for the other side, where I'm like, well, great that they're allowing it, but somebody like myself can get in pretty much anywhere. There's no line. I've never been in a line at any of these events. I just say who I am. I talk to the PR. I schedule it early. Yeah. So I don't feel comfortable that it's like, here's multiple thousands. Well, for some people, it's going to be a couple hundred, depending on scalping and stuff. But you pay a couple hundred, and you may only get to see a couple games because a large contingent are still treating it like a trade show. And you're going to a trade show. So I guess that's a trade-off, right? You know that.
Is what I was
but it's a conflict. It's
allude to, I guess, with your perspective.
Yeah, it is a little bit. And I feel bad for somebody if they spent a couple hundred, because knowing that I did, right? I got in because of somebody who was in the industry who got me in, but it was an industry show. I love the idea of showing stuff to multiple people, but it's a little late too, because some of these companies are dropping out. And I know Maddie and I've talked about this off site, but a lot of the PR companies are like, listen, E3 is not where we're going to be. Like, some of the stuff is just not going to be shown at E3. You can do your own coverage. Yeah, you can do your own shit separate. Like, for example, I'm not going to PAX East, right? Is that the one coming up, Maddie?
Yeah, in March.
I'm not going. Every time I tell somebody I'm not going, the PR company's like, doesn't matter. Just we'll send you the stuff on the same day as we open at PAX and East. And I'll be like, well, then why go to PAX? Wait, what?
Yeah, it's just like the idea of going. That's really all there is.
Yeah.
That's why, when I went to E3 last year, I was invited to Bethesda's conference, and I was like, I'm not going to go because I need to cover stuff at the hotel room. Like, I'm here for the trade show, but, I decided, like, I wasn't going to Bethesda's E3 conference, even though it looked like a lot of fun. I was happy because my channel grew a lot during that E3 week. I was rewarded for the work, but I feel like if I decided, like, let me just go to the show, things would have worked out differently.
Yeah, it's an odd situation. I love that it's open. I just am a little nervous people will get their hopes up and they might be screwed a little bit.
They don't know where all these people are who are getting these passes where they might be paying. I mean, flights to LA aren't cheap, and they might be paying a lot of money to come to E3.
Hotel is going to be insane. Mm-hmm. Hotel is insane.
Yeah,
I guess the one thing that I hope doing something like this too, and maybe they haven't worked out the model. Maybe there needs to be one dedicated trade day, and then the consumers can go in the other 2 days or whatever it is. But I'm hoping that this does keep E3 alive, because think about the excitement and the millions of eyes that are drawn towards E3 every year.
I can't imagine.
But it's happened in the past, Matty. Like, it happened.
I can't imagine it though. It's just how I am. I just feel like there's so many upcoming companies that are dependent on that. You see, for example, I think it was EA when they used to have their own show. They used to have like an indie section. Microsoft and Sony always have their indie sections. I think they see value in that stuff because that lifts their bottom line a little bit when you get that indie support on top of the big AAA support that usually garners that attention for most of the show.
Yeah.
But so for me, it's just very hard to imagine no E3 at all.
Here's the thing, though. I agree, but I think that with the advent of, first of all, we can't embrace the online always mentality and then say that PR companies can't. As Matty just said, he's like, they can release stuff throughout the year. So there's that. There's also PAX, multiple PAXs, which are getting huge. They're getting massive. And so you have
massive, yeah.
Yeah. So you have companies going to those and PR people and so forth. You have GDC, which has one day prior, which is just for devs, and then after that, everybody, including PR and press, can come. So I don't see E3 going away. I do absolutely see E3 leveling out completely as just another event show, and that's because it's already happened once, as said before, and then it came back, but it came back with an absence of these other shows that aren't absent anymore. They're there, and a show like PAX Prime, which I went to, was insane. And when I talked to the PR there, they were like, we might go to E3 because PAX allowed for more hands-on, a completely different approach.
Direct to the consumer. Yeah.
Direct to the consumer. And even me, who is a PR person, there's no middleman. And it's also just like Microsoft is saying, we want to do our stuff on Sunday so that we can have our own news day. A lot of people are like, we want to do our shit on a different week. We don't want E3 because we get lost. And so a lot of companies
Sony does that.
Yeah, they have
their thing at the
February,
end of the year.
I thought it was
They
February.
did something in
their
December.
PS,
that
their PS
PlayStation
meeting.
Experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
PlayStation
They do
Experience.
that every year now, and they
Microsoft
announced a new Uncharted and a new fucking Last of Us. Like clearly, they take that seriously, right?
Microsoft does their own, and Nintendo doesn't give a shit about anything. They just release a video of people playing jacking off monkeys or whatever the fuck they do. Switch. So yeah, that's what I mean. I see it leveling out with everything else, and I'm just being honest. A lot of the PR people I talk to aren't necessarily in love with E3. Most aren't, actually.
Yeah,
I would say the majority aren't.
PAX does have a thing on a Friday where press can go an hour early.
Yeah, that's
kind of fucking pointless in my opinion, but
yeah, an hour's one meeting maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty bogus, but like if E3 maybe did something like that where like every up until like 12, and then open it to the public after that, because then that would be pretty ideal. Because it's a lot. You'd be surprised how much media is there. It's fucking insane. It's like anyone with a fucking name has a pass. It's crazy.
Yeah, getting a pass is. I had heard it was going to get harder, and so for example, I think in E3 2 years ago, I had to go through some hoops, and now I got an email and it was like, "You're invited already."
E3,
by some
E3.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I was like,
PAX,
"Whoa, weird."
Let me tell you a story then. Going to PAX East this year, I was about to not go because I got a media badge. Connor got one. I haven't got one. And we're doing a special Let's Play idea we have planned along with a couple other coverage ideas. And we needed Brian to come along. He's the fourth one of our group. And they all help me make videos. And also, like I said, it's part of the Let's Play series we're doing. And so everyone got a pass, but they're like, Brian can't come. They're like, his position does not make him eligible for a pass. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, he's on the channel now. I'm like, how can he not be eligible? So, like, I resubmitted his application. I said, what if he changes his position? He helped me on these two videos here as well. I said, is that okay? They're like, no. So, and then finally, the video was up for the competitive friendly competition episode, and I sent it to them. I was like, he's also a host on the channel. He is literally going to be on the channel every other week. Is this not enough? Like, now because that's the thing. Apparently, they like to see them on the channel.
Yeah, on the channel. With the
and
face,
so I was like, this cannot be more clear. It says not a one-time thing. It's a Patreon-funded series. You can check the Patreon. Here's a link. I was like, is this okay? They fucking say to me, media registration closed an hour ago. He can come to PAX West. Like, fuck you. That's what they said to me. I was like, okay. Well, I said to them, I was like, we're not going then. I said, that's as simple as that. I said, you are literally jeopardizing my content plans. I'm not expecting you to work around me, but you're literally directly interfering at this point. It's only been an hour. And I feel like someone at that point stepped into the email chain, saw this dude say the media registration closed an hour ago, and went like, what the fuck are you doing? Because after that, they said, send us his license and his stuff, and we'll verify that that's him in the video. I sent it to them, and they're like, he's approved now. He has a media badge. I was like, Jesus Christ, it was like pulling teeth. Reason I told that whole story is because with E3, like you said, Karak, submission, 30 minutes later, email, I was in. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's mind-blowing that PAX was literally, like I said, fucking yanking teeth out of a kid's mouth compared to E3, which is from perspective, from the eye test, way bigger. And I literally just popped in my channel name, who I was, a link, and asked for a pass, and that was it. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these all, but I just think they'll level out. I think that we'll see E3 becoming like PAX, and they'll just be different names. There'll be Gamescom, E3 PAX, and it won't be as big as, and I'm actually happy for that because I would like to see them spread their content and data out, especially talking to devs who are like, guys, trying to get ready for E3 is ridiculously stupid when it comes to, well, for example, I've said this before, Cliff Basinski has a GDC video called Fighting the 800-Pound Gorilla, and it's all about getting demos ready and trying to fight other publishers for space, for data, and for mindshare at events. And he talks about how long it takes to get a single demo ready for an E3 that doesn't crash, and that you don't have to tell people, you can't pick up the red key because it'll crash your game. So they have to make sure everything's perfect. It's a lot of money too, man. It's a lot for them. I mean, it's extraordinary for the developers how much time and money they put into those. So I have a feeling it'll be more averaged and more like, we've got version A at PAX East, we've got version B at PAX Prime. That's a little easier to do than be like, we got to get everything at fucking E3. It's got to be perfect,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, that'll do it then for episode 96 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. Boys, it was a pleasure.
Yes, very much so.
Very fiery podcast here today. We hope the listeners enjoyed. As always, sound off with your feedback using the hashtag HAMRadioTime on Twitter, or just fire away in the comments down below, whatever's easiest for you. And any final words, gentlemen?
No, enjoy your weekends.
Cool.
Yeah. I want to play some more Resident Evil.
Yeah, have fun, man. You guys take care.
See ya.
Thank you, everyone.